Boulder, Colorado, where a peaceful march became the target of a horrific attack. 8 people, some of them elderly, were attacked and lit on fire yesterday afternoon during a walk to support the remaining Israeli hostages in Gaza. At least one victim was in critical condition.
Stay away, stay away. He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails right there.
Authorities have now arrested 45-year-old suspect Mohammed Sabri Soliman, and here you see the tense scene as the apparent suspect was approached by police and detained. Officials believe he acted alone. He could be facing murder charges and a slew of other charges as federal officials open up a terrorism investigation. Let's go to the scene with NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal. Also with us is NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian in Washington, and former D.C. Chief of Homeland Security Danelle Harvin. Camila, what more can you tell us about these charges and the status of the investigation right now?
Hey, Anna, so this suspect is potentially facing 2 murder charges. This despite the fact that authorities have not confirmed that anyone has died as a result of this attack. He's also facing a number of other charges, including potential attempted murder charges, assault, a charge for causing serious injury to an elderly person, and using explosives. He is being held on a $10 million bail, and we are expecting to see him in his first court appearance at 1:30 p.m. local time. Now, we do know that this is an Egyptian national. DHS on X releasing a statement saying that he was in this country illegally, saying he overstayed a visa and then sought asylum. So DHS later clarifying that he had not exhausted all of his options to remain legal in this country. But we do know from authorities that this is a man who came to this area where people were gathering peacefully to support the hostages taken on October 7th. Authorities saying that he was screaming "Free Palestine." He was obviously disrupting the people there and then used a makeshift flamethrower to attack the people that were gathered here. I want you to listen to how some of the witnesses describe what was going on.
There was 2 older ladies just like kind of rolling around a little bit. They were in their underwear because they had like stripped their pants, obviously. And yeah, I was just like, how can I help? And they had like really bad burns all up on their legs.
Shoots of fire, linear, about 20 feet long. Spears of fire. 2 of them at least came across right into the group.
And it was chaotic as people rushed to try to help those victims. There were some that brought water and tried to dump it on some of the injured here. Of course, people just confused about what was going on, immediately calling authorities, and that suspect was arrested here moments after people called authorities, Anna.
And again, Camila, at last check, it was 8 victims. We know at least one had critical injuries. What is the latest on the status of their conditions?
Yeah, we know that of the 8 victims, 4 men, 4 women, they were all ages 52 to 88. This was an older demographic of people who gathered here at this very peaceful demonstration. But we have been warned by officials that these burn injuries are very tricky and very complicated. So they have said, this could get complicated because of the possibility of these burn injuries becoming life-threatening. So we have not gotten an update in terms of what the injuries have developed into, but we are told that some were serious and some were minor injuries on them.
And as we just look at these images, Colorado's home for me. Know Pearl Street Mall very well. This is an area where there's lots of pedestrian traffic, lots of businesses, restaurants, boutiques, and so beyond these people who were demonstrating, there would have been many other people all around. You can only imagine the chaos, the fear that ripped through that entire community, Ken. And of course, there was this more unconventional type of weapon used, it sounds like, whether it was a Molotov cocktail or a makeshift flamethrower. What are we learning?
Yeah, it appears to be a little of both, Anna. The FBI said witnesses are reporting that the suspect used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. And the effects obviously were devastating. Witnesses, as you saw there, saying they saw victims with horrific burns. And of course, the fact that murder charges have been filed suggests that either some of these victims have already died or that they have such terrible burns that they're expected to die, sadly. Thankfully, this is not a method of attack that we have seen very often, Anna.
And Danelle, again, it wasn't a shooting. It wasn't a vehicle ramming. What does the weapon use here tell you about the mindset or the capability of this person?
Well, this is straight out of the Al Qaeda and ISIS playbook, where for the last decade they've been telling those who are inspired by them and radicalized by them to use low tech means. And so, fire as a weapon, as a terrorism weapon, we've been training in academies for at least the last decade. It first popped up in the Al Qaeda playbook. And so, this really follows that trend. Low tech, any of these devices you can probably make up at your local, hardware store, and it keeps you off the radar of law enforcement and federal authorities.
Now, the other piece of this that seems particularly striking is the age of the victims. The youngest is 52, but others in their 70s and 80s. Is that unusual to see an attack target senior citizens like this?
Hate doesn't care about age, unfortunately, Anna. And what we've seen right now, currently, is that the Jewish community is actively under siege. Since the outbreak of war in Gaza, there's been nearly over a 300% increase on attacks against Jewish communities, Jewish centers, Jewish schools. Jews in our country make up less than 3% of the population, but the FBI statistics suggest that almost 70% of attacks that are hate related to religion are targeted towards the Jewish community. So they really don't care, these individuals who are radicalized, about the age. They just really want to hurt people in the Jewish community.
Ken, Camila walked us through some of the state charges that could come. As we look ahead, too, there could be federal charges, right? What are we looking at there?
Yeah, both terrorism and hate crime charges are clearly a possibility here on. This is being investigated as a terrorist attack based on anti-Semitism. Sometimes it takes longer to develop hate crimes and terrorism charges because it requires a deeper look into the suspect's exact motives and ideology. In last month's attack on the couple at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, for example, federal authorities initially have filed murder and weapons charges, although they have not ruled out additional charges. It's also worth mentioning here that everything the FBI has seen so far suggests that both of these terrible incidents were lone wolf attacks, and those are the most difficult ones to prevent, especially when the suspect has no previous significant criminal history and isn't on law enforcement's radar. The fact that this event was a regularly scheduled demonstration is, though, raising questions about why there was no uniform law enforcement presence there, but that's more of a question for local police than it is for the FBI.
And Danelle, we talked to you right after those killings of the two Israeli embassy workers, not even 2 weeks ago. That happened in D.C. These two events being so close together, both suspects allegedly saying free Palestine at the scene. Does that raise law enforcement concerns of copycats, or that there could be a trend emerging here?
Absolutely, but we were warned about the trend last year when the former FBI director, Christopher Wray, told us that the longer that the conflict in Gaza goes on, the more individuals will be inspired to mobilize towards violence. In fact, the latest 2025 DHS threat assessment suggested that homegrown extremists and violent lone wolves could use that conflict as really a mobilizing call to hurt people, and I think that's what you're seeing.
It's unclear what kind of security presence there was around this area. It's also near the Boulder County Courthouse. So you would also assume, one would assume, that there would be a security presence very close by at the very least. Danelle, when we spoke last time, we talked about how you can't pardon every potential target, especially when it's open air. So is there more that could be done to prevent a radicalized attack like this? Apparent lone wolf actor, as you mentioned, now adding in this, what seems to many of us to be an unconventional tactic?
Absolutely. So we know that the Jewish community is being targeted, right? And we've seen this. Foreign adversaries have actually created a targeted list of Jewish sites within the United States. If you are organizing an event like this, you need to really work closely with state and local authorities to help make these soft targets, these vulnerable targets, more hardened. I do have to mention, however, that with the recent administration at the federal level, the funding has been cut drastically for state and local police and intelligence authorities to track lone threats like this online and in real time because their funding's been cut through DOGE. And so this is really a huge challenge. The community really has to work with state and local law enforcement, and something like this shouldn't happen.
Danelle Harvin.